Well, I think the genie is out of the bottle there. If there's a problem to the internet, it's ruining of attention. Hello. We are indebted to the Gnostics who hid their sacred books in the desert. I can't stress this enough. When you think that the decisions and dedication of a few people led to one of the most important discoveries in history, it's just mind-boggling. But today I'm going to discuss books, the passing of knowledge, especially esoteric or suppressed knowledge, printed matter in general. I'm going to touch on time capsules, dedication as revolutionary acts, the inherent power of the written word or the printed word, the importance of preserving hidden knowledge. I'm also going to discuss attempts at cultural erasure and how knowledge often challenges dominant systems of control. If you like what you see here or other videos of mine, it would really help me if you subscribe to the channel. Also, I now have some Gnostic merch, if you're into that sort of thing. This also helps the channel. With that out of the way, let's begin with the word as magic. In many traditions, the word is seen as a creative or divine force. In the beginning was the word. It comes from the Greek logos, which means word or discourse or reason. In Christianity and Gnosticism, the word is sometimes identified with Christ as a living expression of God. Words are a kind of technology, and they can also be used as an art. In occult or magical traditions, the word can mean a sacred utterance, a sound, a name, or a phrase believed to have power to shape reality. At a fundamental level, I think words are vibrations that can influence reality. They can be secret or hidden names that grant power. There's ritualized speech, spells, invocations, mantras. These are all ways to use words. Words are a kind of weapon in some sense. We can defend ourselves with them to some degree. We can also assault with them to some degree. If the word is this powerful, then books are even more powerful because collecting words becomes a presentation of complex ideas. Authors are architects of thought and readers activate it. The relationship is a bit like a circuit, and you can really realize the power of this when you think of ancient authors and modern readers. The circuit can still be relevant 2,000 years later. Books implant images, beliefs, frameworks. They can rewrite identity, morality, even perception in some cases. And sometimes a powerful text doesn't just inform, it possesses you, fundamentally changes you. Books as more than communication. People tend to think of books as just a means of communication, but I think they are much, much more. They are vessels of power, containers of memory and experience. They can be used as tools of resistance. They can also be acts of defiance. If you are a regular watcher of my channel, you know that I talk a lot about how Gnosticism directly challenged the dominant authority structures of the Roman Catholic Church. But this is just one case. There are many cases. Martin Luther translated the Bible into German, another direct challenge to the Roman Catholic Church, which had long kept scripture in Latin to maintain control. His publication of the 95 Theses put him on a collision course with church authority, ultimately leading to his excommunication and placing his life at risk. In 1776, Thomas Paine published Common Sense, and he advocated for independence from Great Britain. This helped galvanize public support for the American Revolution. It was a pamphlet, really a zine, if you want to look at it a certain way. It was the viral media of the 18th century. In 1852, Uncle Tom's Cabin changed the conversation about slave ownership. It exposed the human cost of slavery. In the USSR, the state tightly controlled publishing. Dissidents created samizdat, which were hand-copied, zine-like, secretly circulated texts. And there are many, 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 many other incidents like these. But here's the thing. A book is more than just a bound collection of pages. Many things can be a book. The general term includes all of these. I'm not going to go through and say them all, but you get the point. One could see the internet as a kind of free-form, fluid superbook or uber book. A lot of people don't consider decks of cards books, but the tarot is a book without a spine, a kind of game hiding esoteric symbolism in plain sight. And this game helped keep it alive for future generations. So it's important to see that a book is more than just a vehicle for information. Time capsules. Speaking of the Gnostics, they are a bit of a miracle, I'd say. Across many, many generations, they avoided cultural erasure by hiding their books. They turned up much later, and we'll probably find more eventually. In fact, I can't wait for it. I know that there's more somewhere. These were intentionally done, but there's also other situations where there are archives. They can safeguard marginalized or suppressed voices often. And these are also unearthed from time to time. You know, collections long forgotten that only turn up years later. A single book that might be buried in a larger collection, kind of hiding there. A lot of times though, I think this involves a considerable amount of dedication. Dedication to one's ideology is a kind of revolutionary act. And dedication can work as a bridge between individuals across time, which makes it more important than a single individual. You know, it is insight preserved for future discovery, biding its time. That's the thing about truth, it never really dies. No matter how much power structures try to snuff it out, to diminish it, it always comes back. It survives in fragments waiting to be discovered. It's just crazy to think that these books were hidden so long ago, they're rediscovered, and now they've been printed, they've been put on the internet. There's really no way to censor it now. Back then, you could censor it by killing the adherents and burning the books, right? Well, it's kind of gotten beyond that now. These were true time capsules. But the Gnostic discoveries are not the only ones. The discovery of the Nag Hammadi library cannot be quantified, really. The importance of it, it's just baffling. Discovering it has challenged Orthodox canon as well as the views of the various church fathers who put out the hit on the various Gnostic sects. A lot of slanderous opinions have been debunked since the finding of these texts. And then think of all the people who died because of these slanderous lies. It's baffling. And the Nag Hammadi isn't the only discovery. The Dead Sea Scrolls, ancient Jewish manuscripts discovered between 1947 and the 1950s in caves near Qumran. They date from roughly 300 BCE to 100 CE. They are some of the oldest surviving texts related to the Hebrew Bible and early Jewish thought. They reveal that there wasn't just one fixed version of scripture. The Oxyrhynchus papyri, a massive collection of ancient manuscripts discovered in the late 19th and early 20th centuries in the Egyptian city of Oxyrhynchus. They excavated what was essentially an ancient trash dump. One man's trash is another man's gold mine. They found hundreds of thousands of preserved fragments, ranging from lost Greek literary works and everyday documents to early Christian writings, including a notable fragment of the Gospel of Thomas. The Cairo Geniza, a vast collection of Jewish manuscript fragments discovered in a storeroom. It was inside the Ben Ezra synagogue, containing over 300,000 texts. A Geniza is a storage place for worn-out books containing the Hebrew name of God, which Jewish law forbids to discard casually. It had remained sealed for centuries. The Codex Chekos, a 4th century Egyptian Coptic manuscript discovered in the 1970s that contains several early Gnostic texts. I will put them on the screen here. It was found in the 1970s. There are countless others, but here's a brief list of a few more. And here's the situation. Sometimes the books were hidden with purpose. Sometimes they were protected or lost. And other times they were just trash. The point is the same regardless. Once something is written down, printed, or published, it takes on a life of its own, and you never know where it will end up. It becomes a type of immortality of thoughts and ideas, and these containers ride on the ocean of destiny and time. You know, many don't live beyond the creator's lifetime, but those rare few live far past it. Gutenberg Bible and democratic multiple. Sometimes there is a tension between institutional control of knowledge and emerging accessibility. through technology. 1436 to 1455 were perhaps some of the most important years in all of history. In 1436, Johannes Gutenberg, a German goldsmith, started building a machine to print text quickly after a failed mirror business. By 1440, he had the basic idea of movable type, where letters could be reused. Around 10 years later, he built a working printing press. In 1454, he used it to print church indulgences in large numbers. And then in 1455, he printed the 42-line Bible, the first major Western book made with movable type. This was a cultural revolution. It changed the world. Any class of person in the West could own a book now. Before that, hand-copied books would have been too expensive and rare. New technologies create new problems for the status quo, though. In this case, it's the printing press, but the same could be said for the Xerox machine or the internet. When I was in college for book arts, we were taught the idea of the democratic multiple, and it is probably the biggest leap forward in history, aside from the internet, maybe. This idea democratized access to guarded or gate-kept knowledge. Reducibility is a challenge to hierarchy. Once the ball starts rolling, it's hard to stop. Imagine for a moment that you are a king or a queen. Someone in your kingdom produces a zine that says that you're an awful leader. Maybe it's done with some kind of humor. The first 10 copies are handwritten, but the sentiment catches on before they're destroyed. A single copy survives and makes its way to a printer. That one copy becomes 1,000 copies or 10,000 copies very quickly. Those 10,000 copies reach 10,000 more people. Those 10,000 people make 10,000 more. You can see where this goes. Ideas are no longer confined to elites. This empowers the individual. We've seen this over the last 20 years of the internet. It has blown the doors off the secrets of the elites, and they have been playing whack-a-mole ever since. Contemporary implications, internet, what now? In any culture, there is the politics of preservation. Who decides what is saved, printed, and circulated? Power structures shape our archives, our libraries, and canons. They just do. And something that should be noted is the idea of printed matter versus digital ephemerality. Through the ebook, changes can be made to classics. We don't like that sentence in 1984. Change it, and they can, especially if all the print editions are gone. Digital editions can quietly be updated, revised, or corrected after publication, meaning a reader may never know they are encountering a changed version of a work once considered stable and authoritative. At least with a printed book, you have editions and you can refer to previous editions. I mean, you see this with films all the time, being changed after the fact. I think this is dangerous territory. That's why I think we should never go fully digital. Yes, digital books have their use, but printed versions have staying power, especially the more people who have them. The more they are distributed, the more copies, the broader the reach. Zines, independent publishing, and decentralized media is always a good thing, in my opinion. The creating and preserving of controversial knowledge as an act of resistance is also a good thing. What about the internet, though? Well, I think the genie is out of the bottle there. If there's a problem to the internet, it's ruining of attention. I've seen this firsthand by looking at my YouTube dashboard. Perhaps that's something I should avoid doing because it plays with my mind a little bit. But it's fascinating how many people will ditch a video before the first 30 seconds or a minute. Even in shorts, people give them like 10 or 15 seconds. That isn't very much time to figure out what it's about. It's crazy to me that a person can make a determination that quickly. It's a snap judgment. I don't like the way that person looks. I don't like the way that they speak. They took too long to present the information. Too long meaning more than 10 seconds. Just think about how much useful information is being abandoned or left behind because people don't want to stick it through to the end of the video. I mean, I get it. Some things are boring. I get that. And I have obviously turned off videos midstream. But I also think this is a little bit reactive. I think we're just getting used to clicking on things without really being present. But I would say this, if you're a Gnostic these days, it's really easy to be passive now. Are you doing your part to extend these ideas into the future? It's something to think think about. The way I see it, there are different ways to do this. You can make multiple independent copies of things, digital or physical. You can archive stuff, or even hide stuff and bury it in the ground like the Gnostics did. Different formats, books, essays, code, art, oral teachings. It can be spread across cultures and jurisdictions. If you travel the world a lot, you can put it all over the place. Stories and symbols are harder to kill. I mean, even flexibility. Rigid systems break under pressure often. Just thinking about the Apocryphon of John and all the changes that it went through, and this is how we kind of need to proceed. What does the Apocryphon of John mean for us now? How does it inform the world we're living in now? Here's my point. This onslaught of information in the world that we're living in now has made us very, very passive. Just the sheer amount of information has made it difficult to know where to place your attention. So the question isn't just what you consume anymore, it's what you actively carry forward, what you bring to the next place. And what if the internet ended tomorrow? That is a very real possibility. Meaning has become kind of disposable. And if you take something like the Apocryphon of John seriously, it survived because people kept reinterpreting it, recopying it, re-encoding it through shifting contexts. The versions that we have now were not the original versions. So as a Gnostic, what's next? What are we supposed to do? Comment your opinions below, but that's all I got for this one. Take care, have a good day.